Welcome Flyffers. So many people have been struggling to choose a class for Flyff Universe for the upcoming release, and that's why I will make an 8-video mini-series that takes a look at every class and what are their amazing features and what are their downsides. So you have a base to decide on for the release. Let's get right started. Welcome. So today we want to take a look at the Ringmaster. And when we hear Ringmaster, first that comes to mind is all the buffs, all the assist buffs the Ringmaster has access to. And we all know how annoying it is if you're leveling without buffs and you see lower damage numbers than you're used to. It just doesn't feel good. And this feeling will never happen if you play with the Ringmaster, because you can always buff yourself. In addition to the buffs, you also have access to Prevention and Stonehand, which are assist skills and are really useful, and I will explain why later on. And something that's new and unique, Merkaba, the AoE skill of the Ringmaster, is now available at level 60 and not at level 80 anymore. This gives you one of the earliest access to a second tier AoE, and yeah, it's just amazing because you're not forced to go full support or anything like this until level 80, or you have to grind your way 1v1, which is horrible. So really good change, and probably a lot of players will like this one. And there's also some hidden AoE potential that not many players use, but it is really strong. Because once you cast Merkaba, it will drop like on the ground and get to his ticks going. And meanwhile, you're actually able to switch to a knuckle and a shield and use the burst crack with Stonehand combination and even stun the mobs. This combination will give you lots of damage increase and more survivability because you're stunning the mobs. And then once you have those burst crack combo finished, you switch back to stick, cast your Merkaba, and so on. So you're just unlocking way more potential and in your AoE damage. And I hope to see a lot of players doing it as well, because it's actually fun to do and not as boring. And yeah, now let's take a look at PvP. I think Ringmaster with a new skill rework has one of the highest survivabilities in PvP, because a lot of classes are based on critical hits and critical damage, and you now have a skill called Holy Guard that used to give magic resistance and is now giving crit resistance. So basically, while you use the skill, crits don't do any damage to you. Just amazing. And this paired with prevention, prevention is not that amazing in PvP, because it only procs if someone hits you in your lower 10% of the HP, but it does happen irregularly, and if it does happen, of course you save food, or you maybe can take a cooldown off your mantis or something like that. So it's pretty good if it does happen, but it does happen really. And in my opinion, Holy Cross is the best damage skill in PvP, because it does require teamwork, of course, but you can double someone else's damage. Like, I don't know, that's so good, that's so amazing. You can target farm people with it. It's by far, if you have good teamwork and good mates, it's definitely the best PvP skill, and every guild that's doing PvP should definitely have one or two Ringmasters in their lineup, just because it's so valuable. As well, the reason why you should have two Ringmasters rather than one is if you're dead in Siege and you're waiting outside to get ported in again, the Ringmasters, for example, can buff you with all the normal buffs, so you already have an advantage against players that don't have the Ringmaster to buff them. And when you're actually forming a party in Siege and have the Ringmaster buff GT all the time while you're down there, you will get a really good value. Like 10% attack, there's almost every class except Asol BP benefits from the 10% attack, so it's never wasted if you cast it, and yeah, it's just the way to go, especially having an attack speed advantage over your opponent if you're going into 1v1 battles can be useful, and same as mages or BPs, maybe getting into a different kind of cast break to outcast another BP with the Asol, it's really valuable. And as you may have noticed, the Ringmaster is supporter of the game, and it's the only supporter of the game, and he has some additional skills that make him the supporter. And for example, that's pretty obvious, he has different kinds of heals. So he has the normal heal and the heal rain, which even allows him to heal everyone in the party that is close. And if someone fucks up in a dungeon, rather than having to walk all the way back again to you guys, the Ringmaster can rest the player. Pretty valuable, saving a lot of time. And then one of my favorite support skills is Tiala, because it will remove all debuffs. And for example, if you're going into a dungeon and the boss is stunning the whole party, rather than having to spend 8 holy scrolls to remove the debuff, the Ringmaster can remove the debuff with 1 holy scroll and then start removing the debuffs from the group with Tiala. So you can save a lot of cash this way. And we already mentioned the different kinds of techniques the Ringmaster can use to AoE, but he also has the skill prevention that we mentioned in PvP. It's really good in PvE, and actually in PvE it's unlocking its full potential, because as long as the mobs don't crit higher than 10% of your max HP, you're basically unkillable, because you will always regenerate your HP, and yeah, it's just amazing. So if you're tanking mobs, just tank a few, check how much they're critting. If they don't crit, check what they're critting in rage. So if they're not critting more than 10% HP in rage, you're safe to area that spot, and yeah, it's easy then. So let's look at some of the downsides. I wasn't sure to put buffs that are based on int as a pro or a con, because it can be looked at either way. And many players are used to having their all full support Ringmaster, that they maybe only level to level 75, so they have access to the buffs, SF, GT and stuff like that. And now with the int base, you're actually required to fully level it, so you have access to more int and increase your buffs, and you're actually required to gear it as well. So I would put it as a downside, because you will have to invest way more into the Ringmaster. But on the other hand, this might lead to more people playing actual full support Ringmaster and the need of it, which will require more team play, which is a good thing. And the other part is, if you're an AoE Ringmaster, you will need to add a decent amount of stamina to be able to tank the full spawns. This will automatically means your buffs will be worse. So even if you're an AoE Ringmaster, you probably would rely on a full support Ringmaster to unlock your full potential. And yeah, this is one of the heavily discussed topic in Discord and on other spaces. It's multi-clienting. That means you're playing more than one character at the same time. And I don't want to make like a big argument about it, but developers will never be able to remove it. So there's no reason to complain. We just have to accept it. It makes no sense to like get mad at it or anything, because it will never be removed. With nowadays, where you can have virtual machines, you can have VPNs with such low cost and easy access. The game will be available on tablet, on mobile phone. So yeah, there's just no way to prevent it. You can level on your computer and heal yourself with the Ringmaster on your phone. So there's no chance in removing that. Sorry if I destroyed anyone's hopes here. And yeah, one part, many people on the PC scene like to play. They like to play one-on-one Ringmaster, and it's definitely not viable here. You can wear the knuckles as they are assist, but you don't have any sets that give you one-on-one effects, so your damage will fall off really hard, and I don't recommend going for the 1v1 route. If you want to go 1v1 and fight with a knuckle, just use a BP. And the last part, based on the Discord thing, we have a lot of players that will go Ringmaster, and that's the reason why there will be a high demand early on the gear, and people will look for the Ringmaster stuff like crazy, especially now that they need gear because of the buff improves via intelligence. So there will be a high demand early on, and it will be expensive, but as longer as the server will stay alive, the prices will drop. So it's only something to consider in the early stages of a server release. So now let me ask you, is Ringmaster your way to victory? Let me know if you're choosing Ringmaster in the comments down below.